Okay. Let me send out a tweet. Brad, do you have a good icebreaker question?
Okay, I got maybe not a question, but like we put tires and ribs on my wife's car today. Does anybody else have tires and rims on like a truck or anything? Hers is like a big SUV. So now she can like go over rocks.
Wow. No, we don't. That sounds fun.
I have a Subaru.
That sounds so Texas.
I have a minivan. I love my minivan.
Sometimes here in
Lots of
Michigan,
love for
people put,
minivans.
Sometimes here in Michigan, people put chains on their tires, and that's like such a baller move. I always feel like it's like so cool. I've never done it, but I aspire to.
Even like on cars, right? You can put chains on cars during the winter.
It'd be so cool. Get a little Camry with some chains.
Yeah.
One of those souped up street racer mobiles, but for children in winter.
I'm sure Wes Boss has done something like that and then put like 10 batteries in it and make it go fast.
He has, I think they modified a like, what is it called? Not Big Wheel. Is it Big Wheel? Those
like
little kid ones.
Hot Wheels?
Hot Wheels. Yeah, Hot Wheels. I don't know, like
yes.
the electric.
Well, no,
you know,
Hot Wheels are like the little
things.
cars. Whatever. Yes. Yes. Let's see. I was just gonna tweet about this.
So this is live? We're on the internet?
Mm-hmm.
We
are.
Twitch and YouTube right now.
Wow.
And Twitter. Yeah, Twitter usually gets the most traffic, which is kind of interesting.
Hi, internet.
The Twitterverse.
The CVS's and Marshalls near me have, for I think several weeks now, fully embraced Halloween. And I wish someone would make a tracker
already?
when they start rolling it out. I think it's earlier each year. Yeah.
Those exist. I'm sure you can find that, Josh. The retail calendar is hilarious.
Somebody needs to link this retail calendar thing.
Mark it when it matters. That's what I'm finding. The strategic holiday guide. Here we go. Well, that wasn't helpful.
Lovely.
All right, well, to come. The suspense.
What does everybody do outside of the Squiggle Comp organization? Should we save this for the podcast, or is this just good ice breaking? Because I don't actually know, Dimitri and Catherine, like what you guys do elsewhere. Josh, I got you
Josh
covered.
does nothing.
Nothing at all. Well, other than this, I actually write children's books.
Oh, sweet.
That is my my other day job, and I tour around to elementary schools and do author presentations. And I've been doing that for a couple of years. I have 2 books, and it's a lot of fun. I think I'm at like 5,000 kids I've seen in the last year, so it's pretty fun. I enjoy it.
That's awesome.
Big assemblies.
Very cool.
That's me.
It's a bad time for me to answer that question because I think it's like we're all so focused on Squiggle Comp. I don't even know who I am anymore. I think I have a job. I work at Vercel. That's fun. I'm not sure. There's so many hobbies I have, but all of them have taken a backseat. I'm about a year behind. It's funny. We pushed everything out of our life to do SquiggleConf last year. And then I pushed everything out of my life again for a year to do that Doom project. And now Squiggle is happening again. And now I'm pushing that. It's like, there's been like a year long backlog. I have videos I recorded with people from a year ago, and they're reaching out to me being like, are you ever going to release that? And it's like, oh, if you only knew that I think about it every day, but I will.
I didn't realize, you were a part of the Doom project. What role did you play in the project?
Doer.
project.
Yeah, I guess I am the
The
project.
do it? Yeah, dude, that's amazing. Yeah, I was blown away by that when that came
Thank you.
out.
I believe the
Yeah,
proper term is type slayer for
Type
Dimitri.
Slayer, yes. Type
Type
Slayer.
Slayer.
If I get a tattoo, it has to say Type Slayer, I've been told.
I looked.
Yeah.
The Twitter handle is not available, so you cannot be the type Slayer
well.
there.
Um,
Unfortunately,
Rip and tear.
you should get the
Actually-
license plate.
that'd be kind of cool. I think it's
That'd be an awesome license plate.
TYPSLYR. I don't know,
YR.
maybe.
Edit.
Yeah, but I did like cancel all life to make that happen. And boy, it caught up to me after that announcement and it was launched in public. But I paid the price. I'm still paying it, but I'll catch up. The things we do to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh, I know what you do, but you want to say what you do, just so
Sure.
the internet really doesn't think you do nothing.
The troll in me really likes the idea of the internet thinking. I do full-time independent open source work, mostly in the TypeScript ecosystem. Most notably, I work on TypeScript ESLint, the tooling. Actually, we changed our tagline since I've last talked to y'all. It used to be the tooling that allows ESLint and Prettier to support TypeScript, which is kind of one of the things we do. Now it's powerful static analysis for JavaScript and TypeScript.
Nice.
You missed a great opportunity to call yourselves the AI linter with no AI. No AI. just say, put the name on it, you know?
I have been told that I'm basically a human linter, that I look at a file and I go, those imports are out of order, that variable's unused. But I'm also working on a project called Flint that is kind of a rethink from first principles of what a linter could be. So fun fact, during this morning and around the show, I've been making a giant comparison table of all the popular lint rules in all the popular TypeScript and Friends linters. I'm currently at row 218, and it is a giant pain in the butt. I'm not enjoying this work.
Sounds fun. So Josh has been on the podcast before, shared a link in the chat to that. Let's go ahead and get started. Do our official intro. Let me cue up the music. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Compressed FM, a podcast all about web design and development with a little bit of zest. In today's episode, we have three special guests. They are the organizers behind SquiggleConf, and we will be talking all about web development and tooling.
Web development and design, who would have guessed? Well, we can do them both, even add a little zest. So turn up the volume, get ready for the best. Let's get it started in this episode of Compress.
Hello, my name is Amy Dutton. I am a lead maintainer on the Redwood JS core team.
Hey, y'all. My name is Brad Garapi, and I'm a senior systems engineer at Cloudflare.
And like I said, we have three special guests. We have Dimitri.
Howdy.
We have Josh.
Hi.
And Catherine.
Hello.
Welcome. So all three of these people are the organizers behind the SquiggleConf. So I will actually be co-emceeing that conference next month and speaking. So we're going to be talking about the conference itself and what that looks like behind the scenes, but also just web development tooling in general. So one of the things that I think that makes this conference really unique is the fact that it is not just a JavaScript or a TypeScript conference. It really does touch all the tooling that happens on the internet. I tell you what, does one of you guys want to start off by just telling us kind of what makes SquiggleConf unique?
All
Go
right.
ahead, Dimitri.
I'll do it. Yeah. All right. I think what makes SquiggleConf unique is a couple things. Like geographically is the easiest one. There's really no software conference like this, like hard software engineering conference in Boston. We all have roots in Boston. Catherine is from Boston. I went to school in Massachusetts for many years, and Josh is in Boston as well. So I think it just made sense from that perspective. That's a unique thing. But about the subject area itself, there's really no conference for people that are making tooling. And sometimes those tools are cross-language. So take a tool like TurboRepo, for example. TurboRepo is a tool that targets JavaScript, but it's written in Rust. If you work on TurboRepo and you go to a JavaScript conference, well, if you show them your code, you're going to show a bunch of Rust, and that's already like an impedance mismatch. On the other side, if you go to a Rust conference and you show them your JavaScript thing, they might turn their nose up. Rust developers are nice, but it's not the subject matter of that either. And so this idea kind of came about that there's people who make linters, even if you're not cross language, there's people who make tooling in general that have a lot in common with tooling makers in other languages. Actually, I'll highlight a talk that we have this year about the Gleam language. So the people who make this language, Gleam, it's a smaller language, submitted a proposal that was like the perfect SquiggleConf proposal. What they said was, we have this thing that we figured out how to do with snapshot tests. But don't worry about what snapshot tests are, but we figured something out that we think is really cool, and other ecosystems that are not our language, that are not Gleam, could learn from and could, we want to share it. This is like, where can we share that? Because there's not a Gleam conference, right? So this is the idea, is to cross-pollinate ideas among tooling makers. Doesn't have to be just cross-language. And so obviously we focused on web tooling as a kind of subject area within that. So, a lot of it is JavaScript and TypeScript and, Rust and, Go, like Zig, languages that target web-ish things, so there's not very much Java, but we do have some .NET and other things too, right? And that's what makes this conference special. That's what makes it unique.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things about tooling conferences is that, like, it's probably one of the biggest things that has an impact on day-to-day developer experience, how your tooling runs and how you're interacting with your code. Yeah. Catherine, go ahead. You were going to say something.
Oh, I mean, and just socially too. I can't name another conference that has penguins next door. It's the animals are a big draw. It's very exciting. And we're in an IMAX theater. I mean, it is pretty amazing to walk in and see just a screen the size of a building and just know that everyone in that space is just like ready to learn and network together. And it's just a lot of fun. The penguins really make it.
The penguins.
And what's next door with the penguins? Is there an aquarium or something?
Yeah. So our venue is at the New England Aquarium, their IMAX theater. So we are right next door to the famous New England Aquarium. They have an incredible penguin exhibit, and among all the other fish and animals that are there. But it's definitely special that people can, after a fun day seeing talks, they can head next door and spend the evening at the aquarium. So it's pretty great.
That's awesome. So, like, what kind of people would make good attendees for this conference? Like, what are they looking to learn? What are they looking to get out of it? Josh, go for it.
I'm so excited to answer this question. We've been researching. We believe we have roughly 3 common user personas for attendees. One is your typical day-to-day developer. They might work in TypeScript and or some other language such as Go or Rust. They may not be extremely active in open source or in the tools, but they want to learn how to code better. That better might be how to use their tools more effectively, what tools to use, what tools to avoid, and the latest and greatest. That's one. 2 is someone who's starting to get involved, maybe is already involved in the space. Maybe they contribute to open source projects. Maybe they, like have a tool or 2 that they're trying to promote, and they kind of enjoy the space. They want to see what are people doing with those tools, what is some other stuff that they should learn, maybe networking. And then 3rd is someone like me who's full on open source or full on in the tooling space, or like Dimitri, they work on, let's say, Turbo Repo or some other dev tooling company. And I think that there's most people fill 1 or sometimes 2 of those personas. Obviously, everyone is a unique special snowflake, but in general, someone who is excited to learn about dev tools, how to craft things or use those crafted things to be a better developer is kind of what we target.
So based on those personas, how do you decide what talks you're going to accept or tools that you want to focus on?
Oh, I can tell you. It's funny. We have an agenda. Is the way we kind of like to put it. So for example, Josh and I both feel very strongly about accessibility topics. Like, SquiggleConf will never happen without accessibility talks, and that's just even if it's a very small one-day thing. And so what we basically do, and we made it more explicit this year with our CFP because, last year was our first year and we didn't know that it would just have been better to tell people this. But what we do is we kind of show people in the CFP what the categories are of different talks that we'd like to see. So talks about accessibility is one, but like documentation, testing, and of course, abstract syntax trees and more like kind of high science, computer science topics that are less social, but the social stuff matters too. So we kind of lay it out like that and try to come up with a conference that will have a good spread of different kinds of topics that, people will enjoy. This is largely, I can credit Josh for understanding that this was important. When we got this whole thing started, I was like, okay, I want 8 hours of abstract syntax trees, and like, let's just as hardcore as we can go. Let's go as far with this as we can. And he's like, Dimitri, that's going to be so exhausting for anyone. And he was right. Very wise. Thank you, Josh.
That's a good segue into like the social aspect of the conference. So like, Josh, what kind of ideas did you bring up that were not abstract syntax trees, and how did you get people talking socially and connecting?
Well, the first one was I really wanted to do a Halloween conference. And then Dimitri, in his wisdom, explained why a parent might not be able to attend an event on Halloween.
Yeah. All people with kids immediately cannot attend.
Yeah.
Well, I will say I'm going to Magnolia Conf later this year in October, the third week of October. Shout out Magnolia for having fantastic Halloween themed vibes. But another is that we're trying to embody the vibe, the persona that we want to push forward in the industry. Something fun and approachable, but still smart and capable, which is why we're called something silly like Squiggle Conf. We've actually, we're pretty sure a couple of sponsors have dropped out because they don't see the value in a conference named what a child would name a conference. But we really want to emphasize that these kind of advanced concepts like ASTs and static analysis, snapshot testing, all these terms that might intimidate people are approachable and are things that you, as let's say a fresh bootcamp grad or self-taught or university student, might still enjoy learning about.
Yeah, maybe now is also a good time to explain. Oh, go ahead, Amy.
I was going to say, you made reference to the name. Where did the name Squiggle Conf come from?
I believe it was React Miami. I was joking around with a few people, including actually the Magnolia organizers, not to keep name dropping the same group. But the idea was I at the time wanted to see or have exist some conference that focused on what Dimitri referred to. Things like linters and type checkers and build tools and monorepo management and accessibility. And such a thing did not exist. What would we call it? Squiggle Conf would be a fun name. So Dimitri at one point had me over for Michigan TypeScript. He and Catherine hosted. And within 15 minutes of Dimitri picking me up from the airport, Dimitri had said the same thing to me, that he also wanted this kind of conference. And it was this instant click of, oh my God, we want the same things. Fast forward a year or so later, I think, and we started working on Squiggle Conf 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious from like an organization point of view. Like, y'all had that conversation. Oh yeah, we really want this. How do you even start? Right? Like, what was the process like to get to your first one, and then I guess talk about what's different between now the first one and the second one. Did it get easier? Did it get harder?
It's funny. Catherine can speak to a lot of this as far as I'll let her tell the story about like how it's been easier or harder this year. But I think how we got started was basically just doing it and finding out. There was a conversation we had there where we're like, okay, we can do it, because we announced the conference last year. It was announced in let's say June 1st, and it happened in October. So from never existing to the people are in this, in the stadium or whatever, in the amphitheater, it's a very short time window to do the CFP and to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that it was going to be difficult, but we kind of had just because of the way the seasons work, for a conference, you can basically do it in the spring or the fall. If you do it in the winter, there's, I don't know, logistical challenges. In the summer, it's very hot and everybody's doing summer things. So we knew that we had that constraint to work with. And I credit Josh, actually. I think Squiggle Conf would not exist if it wasn't for Josh pushing. I was a little nervous, and he said, listen, let's just do it. And let's do it knowing that we're not going to get as many sponsors as we want, or as many attendees as we could have, or as many CFPs as we think we probably could. Everything will be lesser, but let's just do it and find out. And we're going to learn what we need and what's going to happen. And I think that works for me. We've always said, we can talk maybe near the end about what we think will be next for Squiggle Conf next year, but we've always said that we will do this at least 3 times before even considering what do next steps look like. Do we continue it? Do we keep it going? Because it takes time to build momentum and for people to hear about it and know about it and get interested. And, someone who I know his daughter has a birthday that's on the Squiggle Conf this year and he can't come. So I think there's always like reasons and things why you need to give people multiple opportunities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then in terms of this year versus last year, I think in a way last year was easier, but because it was our first year, we didn't have any expectations. Anything that didn't go perfectly, we wrote off as like, well, it's our first time. No one knows we exist. We're just kind of learning. But this year, because we've done it once before, I feel like we all, Josh, Dimitri, and I are all naturally like pushers and improvers, and we're very driven, the three of us, and we always want to make things stronger and better and improve as much as we can. So I think taking that attitude into this year has been a blessing and a curse, because we really want to make the event bigger and better and stronger. But we all, like, the things that we need to do that aren't always in our control, like getting more attendees and having specific sponsors or relationships with venues or different locations. So I think one challenge that we're up against, and this is something that any like new conference under like 5 years or so, it's just people just knowing that we exist, knowing that we're here, and making sure we're checking the boxes we need to advertise in the right spaces and network with the right people, and just kind of getting the word out in a way that the people we want to come are able to receive it. So making sure that that we have attendees that really want to be there, that are happy to have found us. So, but it's going well. I mean, we have 3 weeks, 3 weeks on Thursday. So we're getting close. We're in the nerve-wracking time of it all, but I think we'll be ready.
This is the
Have you
single
divided
worst
up
part of
the responsibilities? What were you
Sorry,
going to say,
Amy,
Josh?
say again?
I was going to say, this is the single worst part of the conference organizing for me, at least, is the 3 to 4 weeks before the conference, which is when the majority of ticket sales come in, which means you're not sure if it's going to happen again this year. It's what everyone tells us. That it's just so nerve-wracking that it's out of our control, like Catherine said.
Do you guys have different responsibilities divided up between like marketing or sponsorships or programming?
That's a great question. I feel like because my background is not being an engineer, I'm leading the charge in more of the administration and the pretty much doing things that I know that that I would be stronger at. The two guys, they're really great at networking and the CFP and picking our speakers and our talks, but I'm kind of hoping to like steer the ship in the right direction, making sure, the venue, the catering, the ticket sales, the marketing, anywhere that I can like pick up extra tasks, I'm trying to make my strong suit.
There's so much work that goes on behind the conference scene that people just have absolutely no idea. So, and I mean, a huge part of that is the content. You mentioned the CFP. So what process do you go through for picking the talks that are submitted?
It's mostly Dimitri and me. To continue answering from earlier, I've become sort of front of house a little bit, although obviously there's a lot of blend. We figure out, as Dimitri said, what kind of areas of topics we want to ask for. Yes to, let's say, accessibility, linting, building. No to AI for the sake of AI. Yes to AI in service of other things. We then put out the CFP, promote the bejesus out of it in every way, shape, and form we can. Emailing, tweeting, social posts, newsletter, whatnot. After a while, there will be a small period of, let's say, a week after I think it was 3 or 4 months of CFP being open, where Dimitri and I crunch through. We have, I think, 2 or 3 levels in the process where we first eliminate all the proposals that are clearly not going to get it. Like, we asked for 5 sentences in this field and they put 1 level, which is more than half of them somehow. Then we try to figure out within each category, what are the talks that satisfy that category? And then we kind of stack rank and figure out which ones can we craft together to make a conference that covers the areas we want with as maximal quality and diversity of speakers as possible, in a way that seems somewhat cohesive as a narrative.
There's also other things too that play into it that I think before I was an organizer, I didn't understand. So I don't know what other organizers, actually, Josh and I have both sat on committees, like CFP committees for other conferences, but I don't know. You don't often get a lot of, how should I say, like guidance about how to do it. But for us, I can tell you, for example, we are thinking about whether or not a talk is visual. So like if you had 3 talks that are like just somebody live coding, which I say just somebody live coding, some people really love live coding, so that's not like it's a bad thing. But if you have a talk that's about like CSS, like last year we had Rachel Lee Neighbors that did a talk about CSS animations. Okay, well I can tell you that Josh and I had the same reaction when we saw that proposal, that it's like, oh wow, this is something that's going to show things animating around the screen. It's going to be very kind of interesting, and it'll be a sort of brain break from some of the other more technical, theoretical kind of sciencey topics. And we want to have all of them. So there's stuff like that. We also care a lot about whether it's on mission. We didn't do it this year because I think we had a better idea anyway. But last year we had when we were kind of grading them, we had a checkbox that we would put in there for whether we think the talk is on mission for what the conference is. There's lots of great talks that people submit that are not necessarily what we're trying to accomplish. Like I said, we have an agenda and we're not ashamed of that. Actually, I think that's like really good. You should, it's not just an assortment of, people talking about random things. It should be a story that's told, or, an example from this year that I like to talk about is we have 2 talks that are kind of similar in what they produce. So we have a talk from someone who's a specialist in source maps that's like all about source maps and how they work and what they do. And we have another one, the lock files PhD you never got, that's all about lock files and how they work and what we do. So Josh and I are developers, and we see people struggle. We struggle with these things all the time. We're like, I kind of know what's in a lock file, but like I know there are like 5 different. Bun has their own, and Yarn and PNPM and NPM have their own lock file formats. How does it all work? What's going on here? And we love the idea that we can have somebody who's an expert, like super expert in this domain, show up and kind of give people a primer on how this stuff works. Then you need to know how to do that. So yeah.
How do you find the balance between, say, like experimental tools and tools that are well established?
It's tough. I think, I mean, candidly, we can call them shill talks, right? We love shill talks about things that are valuable to others. And I think that's really where we draw the line in terms of what the interest should be for the conference. So if you have a thing that you want to show, it could be your company's product, it could be a personal project, and you kind of want to like shill your thing. That's not necessarily every year we've had talks like that. So we're not against that in any kind of way, but it has to be something that's really applicable to everyone. So, it just sort of depends on the subject matter itself. Those talks are hard sells. I think it's hard to convince a conference to kind of bring you on to talk about your thing. If it's very specific to, like, let's say only your customers. It's like, okay, well, if other people aren't going to get something out of it that aren't your customers, then we're alienating. Then they have to sit through a 30-minute talk that they hate about something they're never going to use. I'm saying in the abstract, but yeah, that's something we always think about.
So in running a conference like this and seeing all the CFPs come across the table and, just being up on all this stuff in the industry, we'd love to get your take on kind of the state of tooling, and we'll focus on web development because this is a web podcast now. We'd love to get your take on like the state of tooling of web development today and what you see kind of coming down the pipe. That would be really cool.
How long do you want to devote to that question?
I know this could be many hours, I'm sure. Give us your high level. Give us like a 30-second spiel.
Only 30 seconds.
I don't know. 30
No.
seconds is too short.
I'm not doing 30 seconds. No, that question can't be answered. I think in general, different areas of different web dev tooling are in different phases of the exploration versus iteration versus consolidation trifecta cycle. For example, I'm in linting, so of course I'm going to jump to that first. For many, many years, linting was kind of consolidated under ESLint. ESLint is great, still workable. I'm still on the committer team and maintaining TypeScript ESLint with a few other folks. But people have identified things that they'd like to improve on, most notably performance. And now we're kind of expanding. We're trying out a bunch of different things, which is why you might hear terms like OXLint, Bio, Denovolent even. This is good. It's painful if you're trying to get into this thing and there are 15 different ways for you to set it up. And then this guy, Josh, comes on a podcast and says that he is making a new one for next year called Flint. How exciting. But it's good long-term. It's good long-term because 2 years from now, we'll have figured out a lot of problems and made things better. And you can kind of see those 3 stages of, I already forgot the words, exploration, iteration, consolidation in different areas of the stack. So whether it's building, bundling, linting, testing, we're all kind of, I think it's still the type of industry where things are moving fast and changing year over year in some way.
You mentioned already like 4 or 5 different linting options. And everybody's kind of going their own way, right? Bun, Dino, ESLint. During those exploration phases, are these different projects actively learning from one another such that they can bring it back and consolidate on a tool, or will, Bun and Dino's lint just be different forever and they're just treading their own path?
I think, yes, in several ways, we're all learning from each other. Linting in particular, I can say that I'm on good terms with many folks across many teams. We are all kind of cross-pollinating and communicating and cheering each other on. OXLint getting typed linting is actually happening recently using a project that came out of the TypeScript ESLint team, a different maintainer named Avred. And if you look at other parts of the stack, you can see examples of this. For example, it used to be there were a lot of different approaches to building. There was Webpack for a while, and then we tried a lot of other things like Parcel and Vite, and now Vite is kind of consolidated. And I believe roughly every major framework except Next is using Vite. And it's in part because Vite learned and was able to help other frameworks learn, and we experimented and now consolidated. Okay, this one has all the great things. We're going to use this.
Yeah, the build process is an interesting one because I do think it's heading down that consolidation path where Vite and then Void Zero, the company that they're forming around it, is kind of like bringing a lot of things under one roof. But at the same time, with some of these new trends in web development, people are like, hey, maybe we don't need a build step. Maybe we just ship modules. I'm curious to get opinions there on this movement of like no build, no tooling, and how that maybe conflicts with, how you guys feel.
I'm not very optimistic about this matter. Actually, I have a hot take about like you may be referencing like stripping types in Node and stuff and kind of getting Node closer to being TypeScript ready. I think this is an extremely bad thing, and I don't see a lot of people saying that. So maybe I'm just dumb, but part of the reason TypeScript has been able to advance so far is because it's not held down by any kind of like, can I use this issue like we see in JavaScript and HTML and CSS all the time. There's no spec and there's no anything to hold themselves to. So if they want to change something, they just change it. And then like, well, there it is. Now it's changed and people can update or not. And I think that like creating more barriers seems like a nice idea at first, but I don't know. It seems like it will make things stronger if we leave it open, so to speak. There's lots of ways to go about this, right? So we've gone a certain way up until this point, and maybe that's okay. Maybe TypeScript is done. Like I would be very happy if there were no more type features of TypeScript ever. I think if we just focused on like performance and better, even better errors and all these things, like we have a great tool. We can like, how about we just build stuff now from here on out? That would be okay. So I think we have enough in front of us. We'll see. We didn't talk about AI either. AI changes the landscape a lot because everybody is trying to figure out where AI fits in their particular tool. And it's a moving target, or like we should say maybe a pendulum swinging to figure that out. Sometimes you go a little too far or you go one direction, instead of the other. So yeah, time will tell, but it is a kind of, there's a lot of volatility now, I think, in the tooling space, not just because of AI, but that's a lot of it. And, we have to respond to that. Actually, we're considering next year making the CFP shorter and closer to the time of the conference just for this reason, so that we can make sure we're available to capture something that may, not have existed 4 months before the conference when the CFP otherwise would have closed.
Yeah, and to go back and recap, like what I believe you were trying to say is that because TypeScript isn't kind of beholden to a large committee and a spec, doing any kind of integration of types into a specific runtime might slow the progression down, essentially.
Right. Yeah, it limits their options. Yeah, right. If it's like, oh, well, we want to add this thing, but we have to make sure that we update Node.js first. It's like, okay, well, that's game over. Now we can't just do it. Before they would, a lot of people don't realize TypeScript doesn't follow Semver. So every single version of every, 4.1 and 4.2 and 4.3 can all have and have had breaking changes, right? They sort of do. Well, but they don't.
Well,
I just like the flexibility that we've had up until this point. I can survive if it kind of tapers out from here. I just think we've accomplished a lot as a community in the last decade, and like in the front end world at least. And I would love to see that continue in other areas. We'll see kind of what happens. There's some specs that have come out, like disposables is one. Signals is on the way. There are things that are happening that are core fundamental changes to the runtime that I think have many years ahead of them of interesting stuff people can build on top.
So
You made
this kind of pivoting. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to
You're good,
say
Brad.
you mentioned a point while you were talking where you were like, it would be really cool if we could just kind of take what we have, stabilize it, increase the performance, and just build stuff. And oh my gosh, if I wouldn't raise the flag for that, like that's what
Yeah.
I vote for.
It's
I
good
don't
enough.
think it's good enough.
It runs Doom, like it's
It's-
fine. We can stop.
It begs the question, what else do we need? Now, you mentioned signals. In my mind, I think that's a worthy thing to add to the language, to the runtimes. It really, I think, gives the interactivity that we need to the front end. Outside of that, I think we're just letting the pendulum swing back and forth between how the front end and the back end talk to each other, and we've just been doing that for years. Is there any area that y'all feel that we haven't explored deep enough or should come next? Or are things just good enough?
I hate the idea of things just being good enough. It's stagnancy. We are constantly, as developers, learning better ways of doing things. By nature, I don't think web development will ever reach a stage where things are just good enough. Even after the AIs have taken over and are writing code themselves, they will be finding out ways to more succinctly and beautifully declare their server endpoints. So, I mean, just look at the way that UI frameworks, which are now full stack frameworks by necessity, are evolving. We have only started to scratch the surface of how to do things like progressive incremental server rendering and use the hook for React. The battle is over how are we going to define these next generations, plural, of server rendering technologies with incremental and partial and suspense and all this. That area is incredibly fascinating and will necessitate major changes downstream in tools, everything from the linter to the builder to the bundler. It's very exciting.
That is true too. There's a lot of complexity there that linting and bundling can help take away with magic.
You know what, Brad? I actually interpreted we're all doing jazz hands for the audio.
Yeah.
Brad, I interpreted your previous prompt differently. When you said no build, I didn't interpret it as like the syntax level. I interpreted it as kind of folks who are trying to make a website that does not include a builder like Webpack or Beat, where it's just an HTML file with a bunch of JS files. And I think that's, I don't want to use the word moronic because that has a negative connotation for someone's intelligence. But I'm trying to find a synonym for that without the offense. It's such a bad idea at scale. It works great, really beautifully great for small scale websites. But when you make an app the complexity of like a StreamYard or a Riverside or a Blue Sky, there's no way. You have to have a builder. So if we start making these two different versions of the web where you have small websites that just kind of work up to a certain point and then you have to completely overhaul, well, you already get a bunch of benefits from using these bigger tools like a builder that allows you to write in native like TypeScript files. It's just, to me, there's no calculus that results in don't use a builder within the next 5 years. It blows the mind that people are pretending to be productive in that sense. What I just said is probably too incendiary, and I'd like to rescind some of the hot levels from it, but that general direction.
No, you rightly interpreted what I was trying to say about no build step. I guess I meant no bundle step essentially, and just ship raw, JavaScript modules. But this does beg the question: if app complexity is getting so large where a bundler is needed, do we ever see browsers or standards changing to facilitate that in any way, shape, or form? This is big future thinking here.
I hope not. I really hope not.
Yeah.
I would like to just treat JavaScript as a compile target, like kind of like WebAssembly is. It's a thing you compile to, but otherwise, where you come out, it's like Java bytecode or whatever, C# or .NET IR language, intermediate representation language. I don't know.
It's the thing that the browser runs. Therefore,
Yeah.
it is a target. Yeah.
It's almost like some sort of web ... assembly.
Wow, Josh, hilarious.
But really, like if we're treating JavaScript like WebAssembly, what's stopping us in the future from optimizing for languages that can actually compile down to WebAssembly? That list is non-zero, right? There are blockers right now, but
it's a good segue to SquiggleConf actually, because we didn't mention it until now. But that's another thing that we're sure to always have is WebAssembly will always be represented at SquiggleConf. It was last year, and it is this year, and it will be next year. And it's just for the same reason that like we want people to have exposure to it, whether they knew they wanted to or not. We want to give people a kind of taste of what can be done, and in a way that applies to everyone. So like last year, I can speak to, and there's a video up for this. We have, we had someone talking about this thing Xtism that allows people to make plugins for your app, but with a WebAssembly kind of intermediary interface. So you can expose a WebAssembly SDK sort of to your and to your community, and they can make plugins for your thing in whatever language they want, as long as they can compile the WebAssembly, which is many languages. So like that's a great example of something that's a shill in a way for that project, right? But it applies to so many people. Then you can take that and pick it up and plug it into your thing. It can be good.
Pivoting just a little bit, what is an example of a tool that you're like, this tool nails the developer experience? They totally get it right.
one that's at SquiggleConf or just in general?
Just in general.
Shout out Astro. We build our website on Astro. I believe one of their team members is going to be at the conference. I'm not sure if it's tentative or confirmed yet. Really love Astro. I build all my doc sites now with their Starlight plugin, which is really lovely. Yeah, love Astro.
I don't want to not give one, but it's hard to pick because the best tool is the one that gets the job done, and in a lot of cases gets the job done fast. So to me, I don't really care about how good the tool is as long as it works. Like I care about, like I would use lots of different test frameworks, right? Like we have Jest and I don't know, all these different things that you can use, V-test. Like I don't really mind using any of them at this point. I just want it to work well. And so I think like having good docs to me is a huge consideration. Having, at this point, an AI being able to answer questions about it is also important because that's like a mechanism by which you learn how to do it. And so I'd say I'm like very open-minded. Like I don't really care what tools you end up using for a thing. I'd never used Astro before, and Josh mentioned like, oh, he wants to build the website in Astro. It's like, okay, fine. And I've dabbled a little bit. I still don't really get it, but like I can map what I know about React onto it enough to get something done, and that's fine. I'm happy with it. It's been good.
But I think it goes to show that a lot of the best tools are almost invisible tools. They don't get in your way of what you're trying to build or what you're trying to accomplish. And so sometimes that question can be hard to answer because if the best tool is invisible, you're not necessarily actively thinking about it. It's when the tool causes problems, that the DX is terrible, that you realize that it's there and it's hindering the progress that you're trying to make.
Actually, one shout out for a talk is our first talk of the conference, Make Tools That People Love by Anthony Fu. I think a lot of the tools Anthony's worked on, like V-test and so on, some stylistic even, have really brought people joy. So if you're looking for kind of a general algorithmic answer to that question, our first talk, come watch it.
We pretty much talk about AI on this podcast every week in one way, shape, or form. And we mentioned just now about having tools that AI can kind of help with. And I know that even like framework authors like Ryan Florence and Michael Jackson, who are working on Remix 3 right now, are saying this is like an AI first framework. It's going to be easy to use with AI. AI is going to get it. as like tooling authors and open source contributors, like what does that mean? What does that mean for like a tool to be easily digestible by AI or completable by AI?
Well, on the one level, you have the literal AI integrations, like being able to set up an MCP server. For example, ESLint recently added an MCP server that lets you talk with it. Otherwise, I think it's a load of marketing, really. The things that make something good for AI are the things that make something good for search engines and people already, for the most part. Having structured, well-written documentation, not completely changing the world every year. Having documentation in the first place, like having a structure that makes sense. It's kind of similar to how if your project is really difficult to make type safe with TypeScript, it's probably because you had some weird shenanigan going on beforehand that isn't actually type safe. So when people say, oh, AI first or made for AI, I see that as just like a necessary reaction to the current market trends, where what they're actually conveying is this is well structured and well documented. Hot take.
We have one of our speakers is from Effect.js, and I think actually Effect is an interesting example when it comes to AI, because AI is super good at writing Effect, and I think that part of the reason for that is because Effect is very formulaic. Like it's very we could use a negative word and say boilerplatey. A lot of Effect looks like a lot of other Effect. The problem there is that like all of Effect looks basically nothing like regular JavaScript that we've been writing until this point, and that's the gripe that people raise of it. But AI is actually really excellent at explaining what it does and how it works, and teasing it apart, because it's very rigorous in its Effect it puts up a lot of structure around what you're doing, and you build off of that structure. But those building blocks kind of stay the same. And I think that when making kind of AI native tools, so to speak, you have to be aware of how like the AI, I think, kind of prefers boilerplate, prefers that really same-songy sort of structure, because it's something that it can pattern match against more easily than having an API that behaves very differently in different areas. So I think consistency counts quite a lot when making tools that are kind of AI compatible.
I think the hard part with AI, though, is the models have just got to either be faster, or we've got to figure out a better way of keeping them updated, whether that's Context 7 or whatever. Like I think about Tailwind and how many times AI has suggested that I set up a Tailwind 3 config.js file. And it's like, it's not a bad pattern. It's a good pattern if you're using Tailwind 3, but I'm not. I'm trying to use Tailwind 4, and trying to convince it to tell me otherwise can sometimes be difficult and frustrating.
I think Tailwind is a great example because it's so unstructured, right? It's such a gobbledygook. You can just vomit Tailwind out on the page, and like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, and it's kind of all there. I don't want to be too negative, but I don't have very good.
You don't like Tailwind?
No, but maybe we can get into that another day. I'll stop myself from falling down the hill here. But I think like when there's Tailwind provides a lot of flexibility, right? We all can agree on that part. And I think that like that flexibility can be a curse in a way when you have a tool trying to understand what's going on, and like it has to intuitively understand what all these things do and how they interact together. And Tailwind doesn't solve that problem for you. So the AI can't really do a good job of it either.
Yeah. I hate to beat a horse repeatedly, but we need tools that enforce good practices in code. Projects can, and I think should, give good starting prompt, kind of an AI.md for your project-specific needs. For example, Tailwind 4, if you're using it, it's nice to have a note in your context for your AI tool. Don't use Tailwind 3 style config files. Don't use Tailwind 3 style this. Use 4 style that. But at the end of the day, code that can be analyzed statically and quickly, say, linted or tested dynamically is code that you can tell the AI immediately has a problem. So I think that as these tools get more and more ubiquitous usage, stuff like the tester, the type checker, the linter will continue to get more and more important in the stack, which is why I'm very excited to stay working in that area.
Well, I want to be mindful of time, and so looking towards our next segment, but is there anything that you want to say about tooling or SwiggleConf in particular before we move into picks and plugs?
If you can't afford a ticket, let us know. We have volunteering opportunities, also partnerships with local nonprofits, boot camps, student groups, and such. Tickets at full price are over $500, and we understand that if your company is not paying for that, it's hard. So let us know. Price should not be a reason you don't attend SquiggleConf. Only distance, stubbornness, or unavailability should be.
This is, if you're in Boston, this is your conference, right? It's, it only can exist if you support it by showing up. And I hope I don't sound super salesman-y by saying that, but it is in fact the truth that, we're doing this because we love it. And this is something that only works when people get together. And that's the sell, that's the pitch that we make to everyone. This is a sausage makers conference in a sense, like people who are excited and passionate about tools. There's no other conference that's focused on this. And we're trying to provide that space, provide that platform, and make it something where people feel welcome. We didn't mention, we also have, every year we have first time speakers, last year and this year. And that's another thing, we have certain things we want to accomplish and get people in. One of the speakers, we checked in just to say hello with one of our speakers from last year who was a first time speaker, and they sent us a list of all these conferences they'd applied to and one that they're speaking at. They kind of started their conference speaking career at SquiggleConf. So we're very excited about that. And they did you would never know, actually. It's funny if you told us, if we told you which speakers were first time speakers, I think you'd have no idea. So it was really excellent. They took a lot of effort, I could say, on their talk as their first talk, and they were really polished. So I think, that's something we want to have and, provide to people. Yeah.
I know you guys can also check out the website. There's some resources there if you are trying to convince work or whatever to help pay for your ticket. There's some good stuff on the website as well, and we'll include that in the show description. So we can move into the next segment of the show, which is our picks and plugs section, where we pick something that you like and plug something generally that you've worked on. So who would like to share their picks and plugs first? Let me pick somebody.
All you, Dimitri, go ahead.
A pick and a plug. Well, I mean, does SquiggleConf, does that count? I don't know how to.
That counts as your plug, or
Okay,
it can count as your plug.
That's the plug. Okay. All right, good. My pick. I was using Are the Types Wrong this week? So Andrew Branch from the TypeScript team made a package called Are the Types Wrong that you can pass it has a CLI tool as well, so you can run it on the CI. And have you ever had this problem where you're packaging some, application, some web app or some NPM, and you're not really sure if it's correct? Like, did you get the conditional exports right? Did you do all are the types correct? Like, how does it all fit together? And Andrew made a package that will at least tell you whether or not it's right. In his words, and I love this, he said, if something's wrong, it's usually easy to say what is wrong, but not easy to say how to fix it. So it's not a tool about it does actually give you a lot of hints about how to fix it. But if you go to arethetipeswrong.github.io, you can put in your package name in there, and you may be shocked to find out that people using CommonJS in Node 10 or something can't import if they were to use your library. So it's really nice to have that. And I really appreciate a little kind of very focused one-off tool like that from a guy who is definitely the world subject matter expert in this topic with the node module resolution stuff. I mean, if I ever go broke, I'm going to just start a node module resolution company, like an urgent care where you can call, just have a hotline, and then it's like $300 per minute, but I'll tell you the answer. I don't know. Then I would have to learn module resolution. So maybe this won't work. But anyway, that's my plug and pick.
And that's just arethetipeswrong.github.io?
Yep, I think so.
Sweet. Catherine, you want to go next?
Sure. I don't think I'm qualified to have a pick of any kind, but in terms of plugs, I will say kind of piggybacking off what we're talking about that makes Squiggle unique is that there are a lot of fun local things that we do for the conference that are really exciting. So we have like a fun run every morning around the harbor. It's just like we had someone that came last year that told us that they came to the conference only because they saw that we had a fun run and they were so excited that a conference like had this opportunity. So that was really cool. So we have the fun runs both mornings, which are just like, I mean, what a picturesque place to like start your day. It's just beautiful. We have like photo challenges in the evening between. We have like a really great gathering at a local restaurant on Friday night after the conference. So we're really embracing the Boston spirit of, you know, if it's your first time in America, your first time in Massachusetts, I mean, it's a great spot to just really immerse yourself in what Boston is and what it has to offer. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Josh?
Yeah. I'd like to pick / plug 2 of the talks at SquiggleConf, if that's okay. One of them is, I know it's really hard to choose between JavaScript frameworks these days, but fortunately, one of our speakers on the first day is going to give a fantastic talk, JavaScript framework cage match. Yes, I'm actually really excited about this. I think it's going to be really good for people to see like how these things compare and contrast, and even if they're not JavaScript framework users, understanding the kind of pros and cons of the different frameworks, how they came to where they are, is going to be really interesting. Do you have any thoughts on that, Amy?
Maybe just a few. We're laughing because I'm giving that talk. Hopefully it will meet expectations.
Okay, great. The other plug that I wanted to give was TypeScript Go.
See.
Oh, wait, were you done? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I was done. I was going to say you'll have to come to the conference to hear all of my thoughts about it. Sweet.
Yeah, no, the other one is TypeScript Go. If you're a giant organization with very slow TypeScript builds, good news for you. TypeScript, the team, is porting TypeScript, the language, to Go. It's a very fascinating topic. Dimitri and I think, have both been on podcasts talking about it. And one of the TypeScript team members, one of the folks leading the charge, Jake Bailey, is talking actually right after Amy on, and I'm quoting the title here, why and how we ported TypeScript to Go. So I think it's really exciting. I'm in some private Discords where companies that are very large are posting these ridiculous 10x performance improvements, matching what the TypeScript team has been posting. So I think it's a really exciting time to be.
So Josh, your plug is to come attend 1 hour of SquiggleConf. It sounds like 2 back-to-back talks, and then peace out.
Yeah, and peace out. Yeah, Boston is great. Why would you? No.
Good lobster rolls, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we need to find that. Last year we did a whole exploration of which lobster rolls at Faneuil Hall, the nice touristy place we send folks for lunch, we like the most, and we need to dig those up so we can put them on the website.
This is how dedicated we are as organizers. We all split up at the day before, and we all got completely different lobster rolls, and then met up and like had samples of different ones so that we could provide the best lobster roll recommendation to our attendees.
Yeah, the hardest part of the job.
Yeah,
really, truly. It was so awful eating all these beautiful. We tried the hot, the cold.
They were pretty different, honestly.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
I sense that Amy and Brad, you two haven't understood why it's so important to have a good lobster roll. I think that if and when either or both of you come to Boston, we're going to have to explain it to you.
I will definitely get a lobster roll when I'm there. My parents did a cruise to Maine, and they were talking about how good the lobster rolls are there. And there's a lobster roll food truck that travels around. I imagine it is nowhere near as good as a real New England lobster roll.
I mean, Maine is top tier as well. I have to give Maine some credit. They, as a Boston girl myself, Maine is up there in lobsterness.
Good to know. I feel like Todd Libby is going to poke his head in because he is all about those lobsters. Brad, do you have any picks and plugs?
I am currently like marathoning all 8 Harry Potter movies. I am on number 7 now, Deathly Hallows. I've never seen them before. It's my first time, and I still think number 4, I think, is my favorite. Is that Goblet of Fire? Yeah, I think the fourth movie was my favorite. So I'll just pick the Harry Potter series because it's pretty cool. Um, and then for my plug, go to cloudflare.com, go to your dashboard and check out the side
Is it
navigation.
live?
It's not live yet. It's going to be changing
Oh.
very soon. I gave Amy a sneak peek demo. That was like my first feature that I worked on when I joined the company. So the side nav, opt into it, and it's new, it's improved, it's got nice groupings and search and stuff like that. Let me know what you think.
And nice accessibility. I think that was the
Super good
fun part.
voiceover accessibility. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Amy, what do you got?
For my pick, I'm going to pick an app called One Switch. And I'm a big fan of the menu bar apps that are small, kind of out of your way until you need them. But the nice thing about One Switch is when you click on it, there's a drop down of a bunch of different things that you can easily switch on and off. The two main ones that I use quite frequently are the dark mode. So if I'm doing a lot of front end work and I'm trying to switch between dark mode and light mode on my system, it's a lot easier than going through system preferences. But also it's great for, say, like hidden files. If I'm using Finder, I don't necessarily want to see all those files all the time, but if I'm looking for something specific. So this app makes it really easy to switch that on and off. There's tons of other settings there, whether you want to hide your desktop icons if you're on a call or hide your desktop files, things like that. So it's called One Switch, and you can get a 7-day free trial, or if you have set app, you can also get it for free through that. For
Is that how you get
my
it?
plug, no, I don't use set app. I know a lot of people do, but I'd actually just rather buy it and not pay the subscription.
Gotcha.
But that's just me. I know there are a lot of apps that I do use through set app, so I'm sure it's worthwhile, but it's not my choice. So for my plug, I'm going to plug, let's say this as an extension of Josh's comment. So I'm a core maintainer on the Redwood.js team. And one of the things that we're working towards is releasing V1, which is exciting, in October. So go check out the docs. I'm writing quite a bit of documentation these days, trying to make the tool better. And we'll be also talking about that tool at SquiggleConf. So go check out rwsdk.com. You can get there through redwoodjs.com. You just have to click over to the Redwood SDK docs in particular. So go check that out. Awesome. Well, thank you for hanging out with us and talking about SquiggleConf. I know I am looking forward to it. So maybe we'll have to do a post-conf recap, talk about some of our favorite talks, talk about how things went, who has the best
And your lobster roll
roll.
choice.
That's
Yeah, there we
right.
go. Same page.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. If you are listening after this has been recorded in your podcatcher of choice, please leave a rating and review. That helps other people find the show, helps us get great guests, and helps us find sponsors. Until then, that's all we've got. And I'm going to go ahead and end the stream as well. Thanks everybody for hanging out, watching live.